Evicted unjustly, she took shelter in a forgotten farmhouse, and the treasure inside saved her. The eviction notice was taped to Lily Harper's apartment door with cheap clear tape and zero compassion. 3 days. That was all she got. 3 days to leave the tiny apartment she'd called home for 6 years. 3 days to figure out where her life was supposed to go next. The landlord claimed she had violated her lease agreement. According to him, she had been running a business from the property. The truth? Lily sold homemade candles online, 3 or 4 packages a week. That was apparently enough to throw her out. She appealed, she argued, she even cried. Nothing changed. By Friday afternoon, everything she owned was packed into her aging blue pickup truck. As she stood in the empty apartment, her voice echoed off the bare walls.
"Well," she muttered, forcing a smile, "at least I won't have to clean this place anymore." The joke landed about as well as a brick. Outside, rain clouds gathered overhead. Lily climbed into the truck and started driving. She had no destination, no family nearby, no savings, just enough money to survive another week. For hours, she drove through winding country roads, trying not to panic. The rain eventually began falling. Hard. The windshield wipers squeaked like angry mice. The truck groaned with every mile. "Please don't die today," she told the dashboard. The truck answered with a loud clunk. That wasn't reassuring. Night approached quickly. Then, disaster struck. The engine sputtered, coughed, and died. Lily coasted onto the side of a narrow dirt road surrounded by endless farmland. For several seconds, she simply stared ahead. Then she laughed. Not because anything was funny, because sometimes life becomes so ridiculous that laughing is easier than crying.
The rain hammered the roof. The road was empty. No houses, no lights, no people. Then she noticed something. Far beyond a field of tall grass stood an old farmhouse. Its roof sagged slightly. Paint peeled from the walls. Several windows were boarded shut. But one upstairs window reflected a faint glimmer of lightning. Shelter. That was all Lily cared about. She grabbed a flashlight and hurried through the rain. The farmhouse looked even older up close. A rusted mailbox leaned sideways near the entrance. Weeds covered the front porch. The front door hung slightly open. "Definitely not creepy," she whispered. Thunder answered. "Okay, extremely creepy." She stepped inside. The air smelled of dust and old wood. Furniture sat beneath white sheets. A grandfather clock stood frozen at exactly 11:17. Every floorboard creaked like it was announcing her arrival. Yet, strangely, the house felt peaceful. Not abandoned. Forgotten. Almost as if it were patiently waiting for someone. Lily found a dry corner in the living room and settled down. For the first time all day, she felt safe. As wind rattled the windows, exhaustion pulled at her eyelids. Before sleep claimed her, she thought about how quickly life could change. 1 week ago, she had an apartment, a routine, a future. Now, she was sleeping inside a farmhouse that probably belonged in a ghost story. Tell me, where are you watching from? I'm curious to know. The next morning, sunlight streamed through dusty windows. Lily explored the house. Most rooms contained nothing remarkable. Old chairs, broken lamps, empty shelves. Then she reached the library. Rows of books covered every wall. A thick layer of dust suggested nobody had entered for decades. As Lily brushed dirt from a shelf, her hand accidentally knocked over a leather-bound journal. The journal hit the floor. A folded, yellowed paper slipped out. She picked it up. At first glance, it appeared to be a map. A very old map. Hand-drawn, covered in strange markings.
And near the center, someone had written 3 words in faded ink: "Hidden below hearth." Lily's heartbeat quickened. She looked around the silent room, then back at the map. The farmhouse suddenly didn't feel abandoned anymore. It felt like a mystery, and somewhere beneath her feet, something was waiting to be found. What Lily didn't know was that someone else had been searching for that exact map for nearly 20 years, and he had just arrived at the farmhouse. Lily read the faded words again: "Hidden below hearth." The handwriting looked rushed, almost desperate. She unfolded the map completely and spread it across an old table. The farmhouse had been carefully sketched. Rooms, hallways, stairs, several symbols she didn't recognize. A red X marked a location near the center of the house, the fireplace. A chill ran down her spine. Most people would have walked away. Most people also had homes to return to. Lily had nothing left to lose. She carried the map downstairs into the living room. The massive stone fireplace dominated the room. It looked older than the house itself. Dust coated every surface. Kneeling beside it, she examined the stones carefully. Nothing. No hidden switches, no secret compartments, no treasure. Just enough dirt to make her sneeze 3 times. Great, she muttered. Maybe the treasure is allergies. Still, something felt strange. One stone near the bottom looked slightly different from the others. Less worn. Almost newer. Lily pushed it. Nothing happened. She pulled. Still nothing. Then she grabbed a metal poker from beside the fireplace and wedged it into a narrow gap. The stone shifted. Her eyes widened. Slowly, she pulled harder. The stone slid outward several inches. Behind it sat a small iron lever. Her pulse quickened. For a moment, she hesitated. Then she pulled. A loud grinding noise echoed through the house. Dust fell from the ceiling. Somewhere beneath the floor, ancient mechanisms awakened. Then, silence. Lily stared around the room. Nothing appeared different. Until she noticed the rug. The large rug beneath the fireplace had shifted slightly. Beneath it was a wooden trapdoor. "Oh, you've got to be kidding me." She laughed nervously. This was exactly how people disappeared in horror movies. Yet, curiosity won. It always did. After finding an old lantern in the kitchen, she opened the trapdoor. Stone steps descended into darkness. Cool air drifted upward. The kind of air untouched for decades. Lily swallowed hard and climbed down. The staircase led to a hidden underground chamber. Shelves lined the walls. Crates filled the corners. Most had rotted away with age. The room wasn't filled with gold or jewels. Instead, it held hundreds of documents. Letters, property records, ledgers, maps, boxes filled with paperwork. At first, she felt disappointed. Then she opened one folder. Inside were land ownership documents dating back nearly a century. Another folder contained bank records. Another held legal contracts. The deeper she searched, the more confused she became. Someone had hidden an enormous collection of evidence. Evidence of what? A sudden sound interrupted her thoughts. Footsteps. Above her. Someone was inside the farmhouse. Lily froze. The footsteps moved slowly across the floor. Deliberately. Searching. Her heart pounded. Nobody knew she was here. Nobody except... Her eyes drifted toward the map. The journal. the hidden chamber. The stranger upstairs wasn't here by accident. He was looking for something, and whatever it was, he believed it remained hidden inside this house. Lily extinguished the lantern. Darkness swallowed the chamber. The footsteps continued. Closer. Then a man's voice echoed through the living room. Someone's here. The voice sounded cold, confident, dangerous. Lily remained perfectly still. Several tense minutes passed. Finally, the footsteps moved away. A vehicle started outside, then faded into the distance. Only after several more minutes did Lily dare breathe normally again. When she returned upstairs, she discovered fresh, muddy footprints throughout the house. The stranger had searched multiple rooms, including the library. A realization hit her instantly. He had come for the map, but he hadn't found it. That meant she still held the advantage. Determined to understand what she had uncovered, Lily spent the rest of the afternoon studying the...
Hours later, she found something extraordinary. A collection of court records involving hundreds of acres of farmland. The documents revealed a massive fraud scheme. Generations ago, wealthy businessmen had stolen land from dozens of local families through forged paperwork. The evidence hidden beneath the farmhouse could expose everything, even after all these years. Then she discovered one final document, a handwritten letter. As she read it, her hands began trembling. The farmhouse wasn't simply hiding evidence. It was hiding ownership of something worth millions. Something that legally belonged to a single surviving heir. And according to the letter, that heir was Lily Harper. But before she could finish reading, headlights appeared outside the farmhouse. This time, there wasn't one vehicle. There were 3. And they were stopping right in front of the house. 3 vehicles rolled to a stop outside the farmhouse. Lily's stomach tightened. Bright headlights illuminated the dusty windows. Voices drifted from outside. Several men. Maybe 4, maybe 5. She couldn't tell. But she knew one thing. They had come for the documents. And if they discovered what she had found, they would never let her walk away with it. Lily hurried back to the hidden chamber beneath the fireplace. She grabbed the most important records, including the letter identifying her as the surviving heir. Then she stuffed everything into an old leather satchel she found among the crates. Footsteps sounded on the porch. A moment later, the front door creaked open. The men entered. Their voices echoed through the house. Search every room. Find the papers. We've come too far to lose them now. Lily's pulse raced. She crouched behind a stack of wooden crates and tried to remain silent. Above her, furniture scraped across floors. Doors slammed. Heavy boots moved from room to room. Then she heard a familiar voice, the man from the day before. She was here. I know she was. Silence followed. Then another man spoke. What if she found the evidence? A long pause. Then we have a problem. Lily already knew who they were. The documents had revealed everything. For generations, several powerful local families had benefited from the land theft scheme. Their descendants had become wealthy from property that never belonged to them. If the evidence became public, lawsuits could follow. Millions could be lost. Reputations destroyed. That was why the records had been hidden, and why these men were desperate to recover them. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the house. Someone had discovered the trapdoor. Lily's heart nearly stopped. They found it. Several men began descending the stone staircase. Their flashlights swept through the darkness. Lily looked around desperately. There was no escape route, no secret tunnel, no hidden door. Then she noticed something. A narrow wooden hatch behind the shelves, almost invisible beneath decades of dust. Without hesitation, she pulled it open. A tight passageway appeared, just large enough to crawl through. As flashlights approached, Lily squeezed inside and pulled the hatch closed behind her. Seconds later, voices filled the chamber. She's gone. Search everywhere. Meanwhile, Lily crawled through the narrow tunnel. Cobwebs clung to her face. Dust filled her lungs. The passage seemed endless. Then she saw moonlight ahead. The tunnel emerged behind an old barn, several hundred feet from the farmhouse. Fresh air never felt so wonderful. Lily climbed out and immediately ran toward the road. Her truck still sat where it had broken down. A local towing company sticker remained attached to the windshield from a recent repair estimate. An idea formed instantly. She grabbed her phone. To her surprise, she finally had a signal. Within minutes, she contacted both the sheriff's department and a local investigative reporter. Then, she emailed photographs of every important document she had found. By sunrise, everything changed. The evidence spread quickly. Authorities secured the farmhouse. Investigators reviewed the records. Historians confirmed their authenticity. The story exploded across news outlets. The fraud that had remained buried for generations finally came to light. Several individuals faced criminal investigations. Others became targets of massive civil lawsuits. As for Lily, the handwritten letter proved accurate. Her great-grandfather had been one of the families cheated out of their land decades earlier. Because no closer heirs existed, ownership rights had legally passed down through her family line. The settlement process took months. Lawyers argued. Judges reviewed records. Paperwork seemed endless. At one point, Lily joked that surviving the hidden chamber had been easier than surviving the legal system. Eventually, the ruling became official. The land belonged to her. The compensation totaled several $1 million, enough to completely transform her future. Yet, the money wasn't what mattered most. For the first time in years, Lily felt something she thought she'd lost: security, hope, a place to belong. 1 year later, the farmhouse stood beautifully restored. Families visited to learn about its history. The hidden chamber became a local landmark, and every evening, Lily sat on the front porch watching the sunset over land that had finally returned to its rightful owner. The place that had sheltered her when she had nowhere else to go had ultimately saved her life.
Sometimes the worst day of your life becomes the first day of something extraordinary. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe for more unforgettable stories. What would you have done if you discovered that hidden map inside the farmhouse?